Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the Disney Dining Show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by Dreams Unlimited travel agent Sean Falk.
Hey.
Mr. Steve Porter.
Hello.
And back on the production nook, our associate producer, Fiasco.
Hey, guys.
Well, welcome, folks. Hope your week has been good. This week, our topic is 5 restaurants on the rise. This was your idea, Steve?
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about some of the restaurants that may have not had the best reputation in the past, maybe in past reviews that we've done years ago, or, just from here, like searching online of bad restaurants. Maybe these have been on those lists before, but maybe aren't, or maybe shouldn't be anymore, because they've maybe they got a new chef or just turned something around and suddenly they're much better. So.
All right, well, we kind of talked about this before the show and kind of agreed on 5. Mm-hmm. I'm going to start with number 5 on the list. I'll order these and what I think, okay. But you could disagree with me. But number 5 on the list, Be Our Guest at Magic Kingdom. This restaurant, when it opened in 2012, was excellent and went downhill fast until last year, I believe it was, when they went to a prefix menu. A big part of the problem was people were making reservations to go in and have dessert. They just wanted they just wanted to eat there. They just wanted to see the place. They didn't really want to spend the money on the food. So they weren't making the amount per seat that they needed to make. So they were cutting back on the quality of the food to make numbers. Now they went to a prefix menu where you're pretty much forced to spend $60, $65 on dinner. As a result, the food has gotten better. This is 2 table service credits on the dining plan, but the reason it's at number 5, it has gotten better, but it is nowhere worth 2 table service credits.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important distinction, is that this is a list of restaurants that are greatly improving, but it certainly doesn't mean that they're any of our favorites.
Be Our Guest would not be on my top 5 lists of my favorite restaurants at Walt Disney World. It just simply wouldn't. It's better than it was. It's good. It's an experience, to be sure. I mean, it's a gorgeous space, right?
Yeah.
But it's not... It still feels like convention food.
I do think if I'm paying out of pocket, I do think I'd still rather pay to do the prefix dinner than to have to pay to do the lunch, because I think the lunch is the worst.
Breakfast and lunch are atrocious.
The absolute worst thing. I don't think the breakfast is that bad, but I think the lunch is just like they need to just close for lunch or something or give tours of the restaurant or something during lunch so people can just go in and see it and be done. But I think the lunch is the worst food. Probably one of the worst on property as far as lunch goes, but it's disgusting. But so I'd rather pay the $60 for the prefix if I just desperately want to go do it, because there's Beauty and the Beast fans that are like, I have to do the restaurant, so I'd pay the money to do the dinner before I'd pay half that to do the lunch.
But when you consider that for those same 2 table service credits, you can eat at California Grill, Le Cellier, Yachtsman, Flying Fish. I'm sorry, this is the worst value when it comes to 2 table service credits. I would not use table service credits at that restaurant. But that's number 5. Number 4, Garden Grill over at Epcot in the Land Pavilion. This was one of those restaurants that there was a long time I wouldn't eat there because every experience I had was terrible. But recently, I would say in the last year and a half, eaten there a few times, and it's good. Is it the best buffet on property? Not by a long shot. But in terms of what's improved, this has to be on the list.
Yeah, I remember before I was on the show a long time ago watching and hearing you say, oh, it's terrible, and having a trip planned down here with my family or friends or something, and people brought that up, and I said, no, Pete from the DIS says we shouldn't go there. But then, now I think it's, really good. Much improved.
Yeah, and it was never something like in the times that my family came down, even there were sometimes we did free dining and that kind of stuff. We certainly never made reservations there. We wanted to eat in the countries. I'd never thought to go into the land and go eat there or whatever at Garden Grill. So actually the first time I ever went was with you guys whenever I had first started here. And I was surprised at how good it was. We did breakfast and I was like, this was a really good meal. And I think that was my first character experience too. I don't think I had done a character dining meal before. And so I thought that was nice as well. I liked that it rotated, but like I just think that's a cool effect of the restaurant. And Living with the Land is one of my favorite little like ride experiences anyway.
I love
so
that
I love
ride,
that
yeah.
you get to see it. And yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what it was before, but it's good to me. So
Yeah, and I've been walking past this restaurant kind of similar to a point that you guys kind of got on, but it didn't really appeal to me. Like you walk by it and you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, it's a character experience. It looks kind of, the theming looks a little like basic, yeah, Garden Grill, but whatever. But it does go around Living with the Land, and me and Haley really like that ride. So I think about like maybe four, maybe 5 years ago. Actually, it was probably longer than that now. It was probably 4 or 5 years, yeah. But we actually decided, we wanted to go there because we like the land. It's like, oh, let's just go to the restaurant that revolves around Living with the Land. Let's see how it is. We went there for breakfast and never looked back. We go there often now. I said in a previous show, it's kind of a tradition now, just because of how much we really, really like that breakfast. And then I did try the dinner too, and thought that was really good as well. So
I think actually one of my holdups with that, and I forgot about it till just now, the reason we never ate there is because it has this big sign that says presented by Smuckers. And not that like I don't hate Smuckers or anything, but I was like, I don't understand what this restaurant's gonna be because it's presented by jelly. I guess they probably
jelly,
make
yeah.
other things, but I was like, I don't know what.
Yeah, I think they're the
paid-
corporate sponsor,
right?
yeah.
They're just corporate sponsors. But in my head, I mean, and I remember my family now talking about it, and we're like, Smuckers, whatever. That like, I don't want to eat at. I don't know what we thought it was.
Peanut butter and jelly
I don't
sandwiches.
know. Like I don't understand why. And then and we would go early in the morning because we'd do Soarin' first thing, and so we're like, okay, that's the jelly restaurant or whatever, and I didn't know they had dinner. I just didn't think about it. So they probably should cut ties, but I don't know. So like,
Okay. All right, number 3 on the list is Sebastian's over at the Caribbean Beach. Now, granted, Sebastian's is a new restaurant, but it replaces Shutters, which was, aptly named Shutters because you would shudder when your meal was delivered. And I included Sebastian's here because even though it's a new restaurant, it was the same crew,
Same chef.
and kitchen crew from Shutters that came over, and I don't know if they went to culinary school in between or somebody got a brain tumor and out came this talent he didn't know he had, but
like a savant.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically a brain tumor savant. I will tell you that Sebastian's is one of my favorite restaurants on property. Mm-hmm. This absolutely appears in my top 5 lists of best places to eat at Walt Disney World.
And would have Shutters been on your bottom 5?
Shutters, actually, right before they closed it, they had made a lot of changes, and the menu had gotten a lot better.
Oh, okay.
So I think the last review I did of Shutters, I actually gave it a very good review. But
So it had started the upward trajectory.
and then they closed it.
Okay.
They shuttered it. Get it?
Uh-huh.
And then Sebastian's became the new restaurant. So Sebastian's definitely, I'm going to, on a technicality, I'm going to include Sebastian's on this list. Next on the list, and you could knock me over with a feather, but I got to say, Grand Floridian Cafe. Again, a restaurant that had repeatedly been. 'Cause I used to love this place back when I first moved down here for several years. Would go there all the time. I would go out of my way to go there. I loved the atmosphere of it. The food was always great. The service was great. And then they hit their head or something, and it went off a cliff. It was terrible. Terrible service, terrible food. And I kept going to try and like, okay, no, it must have just had an off day. No, it was just bad. And then when we had when we did the review of the Grand Floridian with my mom, and we had that awful experience at the hotel, we decided to try Grand Floridian Cafe, and lo and behold, it was excellent.
Yeah.
And we had dinner, and then Mom and I went back the next morning for breakfast, because I'm like, okay, maybe it was just a fluke. And breakfast was phenomenal. And then I went back again recently for lunch. Lunch was phenomenal. I mean, not good, fantastic. Like, this was good stuff. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It's back on the list now. And Grand Floridian, I would not be ready yet to put Grand Floridian Cafe on my personal top 5 yet. I have to eat there a few more times. But if my mom was sitting here, yeah, she'd have that on her top 5.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, Grand Floridian Cafe is not a top 5 of mine either, but it might be top 10. They're
Definitely top 10.
Their fried chicken with the sweet and spicy glaze and the cornflakes. That's what I got for. I was able to get that for dinner and for lunch when we went.
Yeah, when you fry chicken and cornflakes,
yeah,
you should get a Nobel Prize.
And it's not something that you should go to if you want to, or they have options, but that specific entree is not a light meal.
No.
So if you're ready for some calories, get that. It's delicious, but if you're not, then try something else. But
the only thing I don't love about this restaurant is the layout always kind of makes it be a little bit like loud and cavernous because there's not anything that blocks the tables from each other. So just a small little critique about it. But yeah,
I don't know. I didn't find that to be problematic.
I think it is. I think you can kind of.
No, you're just a whiny little. Never mind.
But I think the food has improved. Yes.
Drastically improved. You haven't eaten over there yet, have you?
No, I've not eaten there. I walked through it because I've done Citric Coast and stuff, and I love Citric Coast. But for some reason, I thought Grand Floridian Cafe for the longest was their quick service, and I did not realize it was a sit-down restaurant. So I just always thought it was the quick service, and I was going around and trying to try all the sit-down restaurants for my clients that were asking me about, what I needed, and quick service is, just go. If you're staying at the resort, you usually just are gonna have quick service there regardless. So I'll have to try it, I guess. So.
And topping off the list for me in terms of most improved, that would, at this point, would rival California Grill for the number 1 place on my personal favorites list is the Wave. Absolutely has to be the Wave. Went from the depths of despair to a 1 table service credit restaurant that could arguably be signature dining. I think this is not far off from signature dining, and the food they're serving right now is not far off from signature dining.
There's some really creative items, not just for dinner, but for breakfast, like the glazed donut thing. And
the glazed donut French toast?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like there's really unique items here that the deconstructed bacon
and eggs.
Yeah.
It's called bacon and eggs on the dinner menu. It's an appetizer, and it's cheesy grits with a perfectly poached egg and a maple lacquered pork belly. Nah. It's the best appetizer on Disney property. It's nah. Nah. You've got to eat it. It's so good.
So I think for that,
now I want to go have it.
For a 1 table service restaurant to have, really unique items that you're not going to find at most other 1 table service credit locations. For that alone, I think it's you should go check it out.
And another thing, if you pulled up your My Disney Experience app right now and looked to see if there was a reservation for the Wave, there would be. I would put it as not only but it's also probably the number 1 hidden gem. I would put it at. I've eaten there a number of times. I've tried probably about 5 or 6 different entrees there, and they've all been ridiculously good.
What was the problem? Because I don't think I had dined at the Wave before the new chef. What was it just like?
Well, they were doing, the whole concept of the Wave when it first opened was that it was going to be all this, sustainable farm to table stuff, and they really, kind of went down the tree hugging hippie rabbit hole, and it was good. It was very good when it first opened. Then I don't know why it just got bad. It just got bad. Kevin and John loved this restaurant, loved it, and then I started eating there more often, and like every experience I was having, like, this is crap.
Yeah.
And then John and Kevin started seeing the same thing, so I knew it wasn't just me, being picky. And then I was over there. What was it? Was it May of last year? I was over there I was in the Contemporary for a conference, and I needed to eat. That was the only place available. I didn't want to go up to the quick service, and so John and I went and had lunch, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this was really good." And then tried it again, and it was really good. Then we went to do a breakfast review, and that blew us away. And then lunch and dinners, and now it's, if I'm in, like, I'm really excited that our 20 years of the 20th anniversary of Dreams is coming up, and we're going to be at the Contemporary a lot for a lot of our events,
Because it'll give you lots of chances to go back to the Wave.
Going to be so excited. I'm going to be so excited.
So find Pete at the Wave.
Yeah, really.
And I think that's one of the best parts about getting to do this, and especially for people at home watching that are planning their own trips and planning their own vacations. Like for me, I haven't been to the Wave in about 1.5 2 years. I gave it 2 good tries for dinner. Thought it was terrible both times. I love seafood. I thought I'd really like it. I tried the scallops there. They were disgusting. And so you don't know when that's your only one experience. Had I have not been a part of this, or if I'm not watching from home, I wouldn't have went back. Like I've tried it twice and I didn't like it. So like I would have not given them a shot. So I'd never known that they kind of turned it around. And so that is a very important part. So whether you're on online forums, like whether it's DIS boards or wherever else, or if you're using booking you're on your own, or a travel agent, or whatever you choose to do, make sure you are looking and keeping up with when people post about things, because somebody will say, oh, I went to where, I went to the Wave 2 years ago, thought it was terrible. So, and I didn't recommend it, but now it's something where you get to try it again. So you do want to consistently, and we try our best to consistently try things to make sure that, it's coming back around and it's not still bad like it was. I know Pete and I, God, it's been almost 2 years now. I had eaten at California Grill recently and loved it. And I told him, I said, this is like my favorite place. And he, at that point, was like, California Grill's not what it used to be. And it, had kind of gone downhill. And I was like, I thought it was great. And so we went, and he's like, wow, this, 2 years ago, that was on the rise. And it's my favorite place, and it's one of Pete's favorite places now consistently.
It still tops my list.
Yeah.
It's still, California Grill still tops my list. But the Wave, I'm more likely to go to the Wave because A, it's easier to get in, and B, it's not as fussy.
Right, yeah. But that's the thing, is like, if you're not retrying things or consistently, like, we're trying to consistently try things, so we live here and like we can make these videos and give that opportunity for that. So it's just something to keep in mind and keep focusing on. Even if you've tried these and been like, I didn't like it when my family went 5 years ago, there's new chefs, there's new things that change all the time.
I also think it's important, just on the flip side of that, to do your research, because some restaurants that have been known to be great are also not as good as they used to be. So the same can be said the other way
Exactly.
around.
Yeah. For sure.
Well, that's the topic of another show, restaurants on the decline, that we'll do in the coming weeks. But that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Disney Dining Show. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week. Have a good one.